Cool. So this is the NWC Show, episode 44, and if you could introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is the Devil's Advocate, Johnny Reaves, and I am a trainee wrestler with Fife Pro Wrestling Asylum.
Man, thanks for coming on. It's cool to get somebody in the trainee side of it, because we've had quite a lot of guys that are on like either the older side or they're in it just now, so it's cool. Get a new person.
I've got an interesting story to tell.
So the first thing we always ask is the way we break the ice for everybody is what got you into wrestling? What was that moment you saw it and you were like, this is my jam?
Well, without giving my age away, the first WWF wrestling that I saw was the first match that I saw was Mr. Perfect versus the Blue Blazer from WrestleMania 5 or 6.
Right.
And it was the athleticism of the Blazer and the technical style of Mr. Perfect. I don't know why it worked well together, and I've always gravitated towards the technical side of wrestling rather than the whole Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior cartoon style things. It was seeing that, and obviously at the time one was Under the Mask as the Blazer, and it was the Mystique. And I was everything like that. That's
pretty cool, man. I can pretty guess your age from that, but I think anybody who listens to this will probably get that. But that's a pretty cool story getting in. Mine was pretty similar. I'm turning 30 this year, so it was a little bit later than that. It was like 97, 96. I just remember standing in front of the TV and seeing this craziness just before that Attitude Era kicked off, which was, I was as a child watching Attitude Era was just amazing time to be in wrestling compared to sometimes when you watch it today. But what got you to start training? What was that idea of you went, I'm going to go for this?
It was where I'm from. There was nothing like that about, or so I thought. Mm-hmm. And it was my girlfriend at the time. She worked in a video game store with a guy who was a wrestler. And, me and him got talking, and he was like, oh, you should come along and give it a go. And, me being skeptical, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll go along and, whatever. So I met up with him one Sunday morning, and we went along to what I was expecting, this like big massive like warehouse with rings, and it was a child's creche that we were training on with like those like numbered mats that you get for kids. It was them, and we were like taking the bumps on them and everything, and it was completely the opposite end of the spectrum to what I was expecting. I was expecting this whole big, as I said, grand thing, but no, it just wasn't.
Man, you would have hated wrestling training when I was going. It was about 45-minute bus ride from where I lived, and it was just like in an industrial estate. So now just one of those little garage.
Yeah.
They opened up the thing. There was a ring there that if the promotion that run it didn't take the ring with them, we got to use it. If it did, then you didn't have a ring. And there was no changing rooms. There was one toilet that never worked. And it was right next to a Chinese, and there was a bar and stuff like that. So I was like 12 when I first started. So going out there on a Sunday for like 8 hours, 9 hours of training was fun. But seeing training how far it's came from when I first started is insane. But what was your thoughts? Your first thoughts after? Because I remember just being shit scared going, because I was a 12-year-old, but I remember being shit scared going. But what was your thoughts after the first time you done it? Was it like, this is something that I want to stick to, or are you like, what's this weird thing?
I had mixed emotions, if I'm honest. Like, when I went in and I saw no ring, I saw, like, I was like the grimmest thing ever. But there was a part of me that's like, right, okay, I've always heard of the paying your dues kind of side of things. So, it kind of instilled in me from very early on the old school mentality of, going into a wrestling ring isn't it's a privilege. It's not a right.
Yes.
Because you'll know yourself that there's so much fundamentals you can learn without springing off the ropes and stuff. There's so much more to wrestling than just that. So I think it's given me, well, it gave me at that time more, I don't know, more love and respect and understanding for the business than what it does to the ones these days who on their first session climb into a ring.
Yeah, I get that, man, but I think as well as everybody's different. Like I learn from being in the environment that I want to be in. So
Yeah.
I remember the first day that I went, we got to go in the ring to do clotheslines. That was the first thing we got to do because the guy who was learning, he was going to wrestle. He had to practice his finisher, and it was clotheslines. And he was like 6'3", built like fucking insane, and just like layered. Everybody coming in, he was just hitting you, and you just had to learn to take it. It was like you learn how to take it on the floor, then you learn how to fall correctly, then you went in and you had to take it. If you messed up, you're going to get fucking knocked out off this guy. If no, you got it good. That was my first kind of experience. But I give you a saying, I think today's area where you're learning is a lot better than what I had when I was learning.
Yeah.
Not saying that it was bad. I know every time I say this, everybody goes, "Oh, it wasn't good," and I'm like, "No, it was fun. Like it was good for me because it literally was like paying your dues. You start from the bottom."
Aye.
But the guys knew of missing out on the going to like the shit training place, going to like the place where there's the toilet freezes up in the winter and stuff like that. But then again,
I mean, like I'll tell a lot of the new guys like some of my stories there, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, really?" and it's like, yeah, and it kind of makes you humble as well.
100%, man. So I do a lot of MMA training now, and when I was younger as well, when I first started to leave wrestling, I done MMA training. I go to a gym called the Grip House, and before it was kind of a little bit more nicer than what it is now. But before it wasn't as nice, and in the winter, it's like upper close. You would go up and just like do jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and all that kind of stuff. And it was like Olympic wrestling, no like professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But the toilet would always freeze in there as well. And if you know anything about going to the gym, there's like 6 flights of stairs, and you're just like, I need the toilet. But you had to hold it in. You got another 2-hour class, and it was the same when I was up at. Good thing about the industrial estate is you could find a wee place to go because there was nothing there. But you were sitting just like, oh, I need the toilet so bad. It'd be like frozen up, or the toilet wouldn't be working. Which generally it would always just be like the toilet's there, and nobody ever went in it because it was that weird like. It's disgusting. Like nobody ever goes in there.
An industrial estate toilet, right?
Aye, like it was like when I first turned up, I remember going like, "Is there a changing room?" And the guy was like, "No."
Yeah.
All right.
Again, that's what I was expecting, but it never. Yeah.
Yeah, I was 12. I was only used to like, and then the website. I always remember going on, and it's just been this like weird like 90s looking website that I was like, "This is going to be like I'm going to go and get kidnapped or something," because I'm like I'm a child, you know what I mean? But it was fun. It took me on a good experience. So, have you had your first match yet? Are you still waiting to kind of?
Well, on and off, I've actually been wrestling for about 10, maybe 12 years.
Cool.
Obviously, I took a break for like family thing, married, kids, the house, all that grown up shit that nobody really wants, but obligations and all. So yeah, so I mean, I've had a few matches and things over my time. Worked with some really really cool people. I think it's always good. I always look at it as the better the people that you're in with, the more that you're going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've wrestled guys like Liam Thompson, an ICW mainstay.
Yep.
Like guys like that. I had training sessions with Drew McIntyre, and just I've recently been trained going down to like Norwich every so often with WAW, like the Night Family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down there maybe 3 times a year. So I've worked a fair few shows for them and stuff. So now I'm just trying to bring what I've learned down there up here to try and incorporate that into like the Scottish style.
Yeah, people forget, like, as much as I would say the British style is a lot different from the American style, like, there's different styles within the UK. So English wrestle different, the Welsh have a little bit of a different feeling. You've got the Scottish. They're pretty much similar, but there's a few different things. Obviously, there's a a couple of things you don't say in Scotland that you can get away with in England. But I think it's cool when learning in the UK is probably one of the best places because you can learn so much. There's so much talent at the minute, and also you can literally learn like wrestling in like Elgin compared to wrestling in Newcastle. It's like working two different countries.
Yeah, absolutely is. Like one of the main things that I've noticed from training up here to like Norwich is something simple, even like running the ropes. They teach it totally different. And it's like, well, if that's what else they do, different there to here to there, it's like, can there just be like one universal way?
I think that's what makes wrestling interesting, is everybody's got their own different way. And so if everything was just like WWE as they would like it to be, it would just be so boring. Like, it would be like, it wouldn't be for me. I love the fact that everything's different and it's just all different, if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, it does. It really does.
So how long, obviously you said you were in there for about 10, 12 years. How many of those years have you been active? Are you still active just now, or are you waiting to get back in? Because I was trying to look for a few of your matches on social media and I couldn't find anything. I don't know if I've just been stupid and just missed it out.
The company that I used to work for kind of don't really speak anymore.
Oh, cool, no problem.
So like my footage is gone.
I know, I totally understand. I get that. So when I was wrestling, the worst thing is it was like just that Bebo was still a thing. So like nobody was uploading to Bebo, and then I broke my neck, and Facebook was just starting, and it was like I've literally got nothing because nobody was sitting recording the shows back then unless it was for like a DVD that nobody bought, which was a pain, like such a pain, because I'm like I would love to go back and watch what I was doing then to see.
Exactly, you would. I mean, like I know that within myself, it's like my older stuff. I would sit and watch it now, and it would be utter cringe.
At least
I know that it would be.
At least you can like kind of bring yourself back as somebody different. So you're no tagged with this is what you used to do. You can just be totally different.
Exactly. Well, the character that I've got now is like absolutely, completely, like way in the other direction that I once was, and it was that whole like reinvention, if you will.
Cool.
But yeah, like I know that if I came across any of my old stuff, I would just be like, oh, this is embarrassing. But I know that I've grown as a person and as a performer, if you will, and a wrestler as well. I've grown so much that what I did back then, it's nothing to like when shows happen again. Yeah.
It's going to be cool as well because people will be like, oh, who's this new guy? And then you're like, oh no, you've got all this experience, which people won't know, and you can just play it off, but like, I'm just new, but I'm this good. If you want to be a heel, whatever.
Do you know, like, more often than not, I just kind of stick with the fact that I'm a trainee, because it's like, even like training with Andy Wilde, who himself, like, I remember Andy when he first started. Mm-hmm. So, to be trained by him at FPWA and his knowledge and everything like that. When is this episode going to air, by the way?
Tomorrow, normally. But we can discuss that off. We can discuss it off the
okay,
the
I was
podcast.
just going to drop something in there but yeah, but like training with Andy Wilde and things like that, and like he's been around ICW for years on end. So like the contacts that he's got during this whole pandemic thing is, he's brought these guys over, and we've had webinars over Zoom with like guys like Eddie Dennis and like Mark Andrews and NXT referee Chris Sharp and things like that, and we've always been learning. So even now, even though the fact that I've been around a while, I'm still learning.
Yeah, as a cool thought process to have, man. Always be learning, because there are a lot of people in every aspect of life that will just be like, "That's me, expert. Don't want to learn anymore," and it hurts them in the long run, especially in something like wrestling when it changes and grows in so many different ways. So,
exactly. One of the one of the best bit of advices that I got from Ricky Knight when I first started, obviously, I was quite nervous about talking to him because he had this notoriety about him, him and Zach. So I remember saying to him, excuse me, being all sheepy about it, and he was like, and the best advice that he gave me, and I've passed it on to as many people as I can, and I still stick to it to this day, is you sit down, you shut up, and you listen.
Man, it's the key to anything in life as well. There's so many people that, and the worst thing with social media is a lot of people forget the learning process. They just think you go in one day, next day you're a millionaire, which is people forget how hard it is. I know, man. People forget how hard it is. I have my own businesses and stuff like that, and it's a grind. It's Monday I done 17 hours. Yesterday I think it was 16. Today was a half day, so I was only doing 10. But that's more than a normal job for a week's worth, and I've still got the rest of the week to go. But that's what I love doing. People forget there's a lot of time that goes into just that one little bit of success, years and years of work. But so talking about COVID, how have you felt during COVID being a wrestler, not being able to scratch that itch going out? Because I've been talking to you guys and it's making me want to get back into it. I can't do normal stuff because of my neck, but I'm dying to get back into doing something. But how have you felt it being took away from you during COVID?
It's been really rough, if I'm honest. Andy had just set up a show for his students, to perform in front of friends and family and things like that. So we were all buzzing, all the hard work's paid off and things like that. But then it was just a big massive fuck you, And it really did upset and hurt a lot of people, which you could probably imagine. But then, me personally, I've taken a lot of time for myself, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I mean, physically, I think I'm in probably the best shape I've ever been. Mm-hmm. Because we've had this downtime, so use it. We've been, basically, I've tried my hardest to make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Man, I totally get what you mean. I feel like I'm in the best shape ever. I've been running pretty much every day. Well, last year I tore my calf muscle, which is a story that everybody knows in this channel. As I was playing Watch the Time, Mr. Wolf, with my little daughter, and I'm very competitive as a person, just naturally, and she tried to kick me. I jump over my couch, land on my foot the wrong way, tore my calf muscle. So for the first 6 months ish, it went on for about 8 because, again, I'm very competitive. I get bored too easy, so I started to try and exercise. I would do maybe a couple of lunges and I would be in agonising pain for ages. So, I'm in literally the best shape I've been in. I've got bigger than what I've been since I was wrestling back in the day, and I feel great, which is something. I wouldn't have started this channel if it wasn't for COVID. I wouldn't be sitting talking to wrestlers, and it wouldn't be something that I'm loving doing, which is fun. So you kind of, like you says, you need to make something out of a shit situation, which is so. Talking about wrestling today, and how, if you've ever watched any of my shows, you'll know I rant about Raw, especially Raw, so much. But what's something, the positive side of it is, what's something that you like about wrestling today? What's something that you think is really cool about the world of wrestling today?
What I like about wrestling in general as a whole is, no matter how much we moan and we bitch and I don't like this person, I don't like this person's getting buried, we always go back the next week.
I think it's got you into it. It's just, for me, I have my own gripes with wrestling at the minute. It wouldn't be something that I would call my favourite show, like WWE and stuff like that. It wouldn't be something I'd be like, this is the best wrestling ever, because it's no. But the storytelling in ring work's probably the best it's been ever. But I go back every week because I've got this channel, because I know some people watch my reviews and don't watch the actual show, so that's why I do it. But I ask myself the same question, why the hell are people still going back to this every week, especially with how bad the storytelling can be. And on the flip side of that is, what's something that you dislike about wrestling today? For me, it's sometimes Twitter world is a wee bit too harsh on wrestling. So that's something that I dislike about it. What's your kind of thing?
For me, I think I don't know if this is like the worker side in me, but I don't like the fact that kayfabe's been destroyed.
Yeah.
I don't. It's like, you know, I'm a massive believer in that, and I know that that's like quite outdated. But you know, when you see people like, you know, Bray Wyatt tweeting pictures of his daughter and stuff, it's like, oh.
Man, I've had this same conversation on this podcast like 50 times, well, 44 times, because I can't do 50 yet, but it boggles my mind. Like, just social media is like one of the biggest parts of everybody's life, and you can have a personal social media that you only have friends and family on, and then your work social media, because I don't have personal social media. The only thing I have is for work. If you ever find me on a personal social media, I don't use it. Like, I literally don't. I don't use it. I'll be there to, like, Facebook. I think I've got a personal one because it's there just so somebody can message me if they need me. But apart from that, I don't use it. And I work in marketing and advertising, so it's my job. I literally don't use it. I think it takes up too much time. I know this is literally sounds counterintuitive for what I do. It takes up too much time of like what you do on a daily basis. But my whole job is to make you look at it. It's. Yeah. I like making other people look at it, but not myself.
Yeah.
But no, man, I get that. Like, if you're meant to be a demon character, what you posting pictures of your dog for? Do that in your personal stuff with your friends, your family, and stuff like that. Don't be doing it on your like the Fiend WWE page. Oh, here's my dog. Like, what you doing? Just stop it.
like you know, I've got a personal Facebook and my gimmick one, and they'll never meet, because I keep them, because obviously, like, I've got a 9-year-old daughter, and it's like I want to keep her away from that as much as what I can.
Yeah, man, I totally get that. Like, you wouldn't want to bring, like, I will never understand why they're missing that opportunity. Like, the post on social media, and it's like, you're uploading matches. Could you not just have somebody just try and tell them what they're meant to? But then obviously they're not contracted. Well, they're contracted, but they're like freelance. They're not like actual employees, so you can't really tell them what to do. And I think it's just a wee bit of them kind of, if you want, you need to pay me more money to no post that. But in the long run, it's just hurting your character. It's not hurting the company, because WWE is going to be here forever. It's Disney. And
exactly. I mean, I've still never watched the Last Ride documentaries on The Undertaker. I've still never watched it, and basically it's because, like, you know, that was my childhood. I don't want that shit ruined.
Man, I'm not going to lie, you're missing out. Like, it literally is great. Like, I know for me, I was the exact same. Like, that's my childhood and stuff like that. But because he's retired, it's separated in my brain.
Yeah.
But they're great. You should definitely watch them and just try and separate that. Like, he's not coming back as a dead man. Like, so be honest, he can't.
No, exactly. And, you know, they've kind of missed a trick there, But the money, though, that's probably made for them.
Even that documentary itself made a ton of cash, and it's good. I'm not going to lie, it's a fantastic documentary. The Rob Van Dam one that recently came out is.
I've seen that one. I watched that one the other day there. I've seen the Yokozuna one as well. That was decent.
WWE's always great with their documentaries. Like, even for back in the DVD days, you would get them.
Yeah, they absolutely knock them out the park. They really do. I don't let my daughter watch them because she still thinks wrestling's real. So I'm not wanting to, like, you know, I've been as well as telling her Santa Claus isn't real. You know what I mean? So I want to try and keep that. While she believes that, you know, the Fiend and Bray Wyatt are two separate people, I'm happy with that,
Oh, my kids are they know it's a work. They know how to work it as well. Like, we're trying to get them into the family business. I can't do it, but they can grow up and do it. But they know it's a work. They still buy into it. They're much younger. They're like 5 and 6, so they know. Like, they've known for a while. They know it's not real, but they know how to buy into it. They still suspend their disbelief. They know for today's product they don't entertain it at all, which boggles my mind when it's like it's for kids and they do not like it. But put on, like, this morning I was watching, what was I watching again? I've totally forgot. What was I watching? Oh shit! I was watching it for my channel and I can't even remember. Undertaker versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at SummerSlam. And they were literally just sitting to watch that. But then I was putting on the new Backlash and they were just walked away. I don't know why they don't like it. They just don't. And I think it's no for like a gripe I have with WWE is they think they're making something for kids, but kids don't think it's cool because the thing that kids think is cool is when they're trying to do like edgy things because then they can look up to, but they can be like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it's such a weird thing because it's like kids only the biggest majority of people that are watching it. It's normally like 16 to 45, that age range that are watching it. And it's like, who are you making this for, guys?
I know, and I think obviously the WWE have got that whole business side of things where they can't really piss off their stakeholders and stuff like that by having like your edginess anymore. But I do think that they're going to have a look at that and like reevaluate something.
They've got the network there, which is just open to like just put on like an edgier show, like, and it doesn't even need to be an edgier show. Just put on like NXT, but with a wee bit more cool stuff in it, and that's it. Mm-hmm. But they probably won't. Vince is a better business owner than Whammer. If I was in the same position as him,
he knows what he's doing, eh?
Aye, he's a billionaire, so I'm guessing I would, if I was in his position, I'd be like, I'm going to run this show into the lowest possible rating I can get it, and then sell it to Disney or Amazon or something for an insane amount of money and just go live on a beach. But that would be me.
Exactly.
That's my business side. My wrestling side is like it would be for the passion and stuff like that. But business, I'm like, no, just it's all about profits, and that's what Vince is probably pretty much saying just now. How much can we get these kids in to spend? But I'm not big on today's product. I don't think it's the best it's been, but the in-ring work is the best it's ever been. It's the kind of outside storytelling that really hurts me.
I think you could always tell as well by watching the product, like who's done their time on the independents, like Daniel Bryan, because you'll notice like being in front of no one doesn't really bother him. Mm-hmm. Because he's done it. He's wrestled in halls with like 20 people, but guys like Randy Orton, all of a sudden, thousands of people to no one. I would hazard a guess to say that's probably going to throw guys like that off their game.
Probably, man. I mean, longer than just the COVID period, but I get what you mean. Like, I remember my first match was in front of like one person. So these guys, like Daniel Bryan's done that in front of like nobody there, 10 people and stuff. But then the guys that have been there on the bigger kind of stage, even like Brock Lesnar, who have kind of went. I know they were in OVW before anybody kind of says, but that was a development deal. We know they were there. They still had a lot of people, but kind of having thousands for Randy Orton, especially like 20 years, he's had thousands of people in front of him, and then he just had nobody. It must have been like a wee bit. That's a wee bit weird, but at least the TVs have kind of saved it. And while we're there, what's your thoughts on the Thunderdome? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What's your thoughts?
I think it's admirable that the WWE are trying their hardest to give us something. They could have just, they could have used this time to be like, hey, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to close shop for a little while, and we're going to give the wrestlers time off to heal and do what they're going to do.
Yep.
But they've thought of us. They've thought of the fans, and they're like, hey, let's try this. It might work, it might not. But again, you get your internet wrestling community just goes, this is shit, and just trashes it, man. And it's like, come on.
I love it. I'm not going to lie. I stayed up one night late to be in it, and it was like, I think it was Ricochet versus Mustafa Ali were on, and I was like there in the crowd with a Razor Ramon hoodie on, so I was happy. I was like, I made it. I was on WWE TV, and it still counts, even though I'm not really there, but it still counts. But what's your go-to wrestling promotion, or like what's your go-to to watch at the minute? Is it WWE, Impact, AEW, ROH, MLW? There's so many, but what's your go-to?
I must admit, I've not been watching a lot of AEW just now. But I've been told that their last pay-per-view was amazing, and I should check that out. So I might end up doing that.
I wouldn't go into it with an open mind. it's no WWE production level. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to ruin it for you. Just go into it with an open mind.
Okay. I'm quite skeptical now. I don't know.
No, you should watch it. Definitely check out AEW. Everybody always thinks I hate it. I think AEW is great. I love watching their product, but they're still young. Still have a lot to learn.
Do you know what? Exactly that. Exactly that. I mean, I'm sure we all remember, like, back in, like, the early 90s when the WWE was trying to find their feet and, you know, everything was character-based and, you know, AEW won't get there. I think, obviously, with Cody Rhodes and the Bucks and things like that, they've got the knowledge behind them. I just think, obviously, COVID kind of came at that wrong time where they were, like, going places, but, you know, I think wrestling as a whole will get there again.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it gets back to where it was, because it seems if it's just been on a steady decline since like the end of like the 2007-8ish. It's just kind of continuously went down, and I feel we're towards the bottom when it's going to bounce back up. It feels kind of like that early 1990s.
It does. I think that because obviously, like, you know, things are starting to reopen and like the world and things like that again, that there's this kind of like low building buzz about wrestling now.
Yep.
And see when a promotion gets the green light and actually has their first show, the fans are going to lose their mind. The demand for tickets is going to be there. You know, the promoter could fill the card with like all trainees for, you know, help them make a few quid, but the fans aren't going to give a shit because they just want to see live wrestling again.
100%, man. I think as well, it's a double-edged kind of sword there as well. A lot of people might be like, I don't know if I want to go to a live event yet, so it'll still be, you'll get a bunch of people going, but then it might tailor off. So everybody's preparing for a tailor off at like Christmas if we're allowed to go back out in July, because a lot of people will be like, I'm just going to sit inside the house, because you know what it's like in Scotland, it's just raining the whole of Christmas or snowing, so you're like, I'm just staying in, I'm not going to.
Exactly. I think though that the buzz is there. I just need someone, like whatever first company is going to be the first one to push that button and run with a show.
Yeah, I think most of them, the American ones, are mostly going to be July. I think AEW's got one in July, so is WWE and stuff like that. So
yeah,
who knows when they're going to be here in Scotland, because who knows when anything's going to be back to normal. In Glasgow, we're still in level 3, so we're not allowed to go. We're not allowed to go inside yet. We're still allowed to just sit outside, which makes no sense. But hopefully eventually cheers up. So, what style do you have in wrestling? How would you categorize your style? How would you be like, this is the type, or these are the guys that influence me? What would be your?
The guys that influence me, I do kind of take my style after them. It's like I'm a massive Bret Hart fan. Cool. Massive Bret Hart fan. Between him and Owen, guys like Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, you know, like the technical side of things is more what I do. Like the thought of like popping off like a moonsault and like a fucking 450 splash, it gives me the fear, man. You know what I mean? So my feet are firmly on the ground.
Well, I was the same. I was never a person that was able to do like those flippy stuff. Like I would go up the top rope and jump off, like just like a basic jump. Like it was nothing. There was no special flip, because I would have hurt myself. I'm more scared in case I would have hurt myself than hurt somebody else. Which, but I'm a huge Bret Hart fan as well, man. When I was wrestling, I'd probably say it was like Bret Hart and Raven, like mixed together in a weird way. But Bret Hart's he's one of my favourite. I actually got a signed thing from him from back in the olden days, just in my wristway. It's right there. But it's pretty. He's my favourite. You'll know why he's my favourite when it gets to the last question, which I never send anybody. So you've got something coming up. But heading towards that end part of the podcast, man, is we have 3 questions. 2 I've sent you. 1 I never send anybody. I love watching people scorn at the last one. So it's like you'll enjoy it. So the first one is, who's your favourite wrestler of all time?
Of all time, if I had to pick just one.
Yeah, just one.
It would be Bret.
and it has to be, doesn't it? He's such an easy watching wrestler.
Yeah. I mean, it was weird because, you know, he was never the most, well, I don't think, obviously, you know, I always wore the sunglasses, but, so he didn't come across as a confident talker, but his in-ring stuff was just absolutely, it was crisp, everything, like, you could follow a match from start to finish, and you could see, like, the crescendo of it, and everything, there was no wasted motions, and everything was just, you know, I don't think the excellence of execution was just a tagline. It was true.
100%, man. I think he's a great wrestler. So he's up there on that Mount Rushmore. He's definitely deserves his spot because everything he done was pretty. Like, even in WCW, even though the product might have not been that great, but he went in the ring and brought on great matches like him against Randy Savage, him against Sting. There was so many good. I think one that stands out is him against Booker T, which is an insane match. But you're like, WCW don't have that many. Everybody always just thinks Bret Hart wasn't that good, but he put on like a ton of great matches in WCW as well.
I don't think his WCW career should define him though, especially how he went out with Goldberg and stuff like that.
I take him as matches. You know what I mean? He's a great wrestler before he even got there. Especially, I love the guy, man. I watch his stuff all the time. So, next question is, what's your favourite event of all time?
Even like as a worker and things like that, as a trainee, and like know a bit more about the inside of the business and the casual fan, I still get excited and hyper as fuck around the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but there's always that kind of it's the element, especially of the Royal Rumble. There's always that element of the surprise returns, and in 2020 when Edge came back, Jesus. I just blew my mind.
Man, definitely. I think it's such a cool. The Rumble's one of my favourite ones as well. Yeah. The worst thing is now it's getting to the point when the surprise returns are people that we were adults watching anyway. So it's you're like just starting to feel old. Thanks for making me feel older, WWE. But I love the Rumble. It's one of my favourite things. It's my fiance and my kids, they love it as well. So it's like one of those times when we get to sit down and watch it, and they actually tolerate me watching wrestling and no moan at me for watching it as much as I do. So the last question, man, the one that everybody has the answer straight away, all the hum and haw at it, which I know you're gonna. I hope you might have your answer straight away. Who knows? Everybody's hummed and hawed the past couple 10, so I'll tell you my answer after it. So the question is, if you could replace somebody or add yourself to any match in history, what would it be? For me, I would replace Owen Hart against Bret Hart in that blue steel cage, SummerSlam 94, because that's my favourite match of all time. Only if I could wrestle as good as Owen Hart, because I would probably mess it up if I couldn't. What would your one be?
Wow. I would say I would probably take Shawn Michaels out the WrestleMania triple threat and put myself in with Hunter and Benoit.
Man, that's a pretty cool match. I don't know why that's just been removed, that WrestleMania 20. I always forget WrestleMania 20 and I sit down and watch it and I'm like, oh, this is a really good match.
It's weird because I've done a few podcasts, and to be fair, I think this is the only one that I didn't actually speak about at the start, but normally I'll ask the presenter, like, what do you not want me to talk about? And Benoit's always on there.
Man, anything goes in this. We don't. Everybody's got their own personal feelings and what the guy did. You can appreciate his in-ring work, but in real life, he was obviously an asshole. There's no way of hiding it.
Exactly.
His real life stuff is horrible, and it'll taint his career for the rest of it ever. He's never going to ever get back into anybody's good books. No. I used to be a big fan of Chris Benoit, and then I started. I don't really watch his stuff as much anymore. Every now and again, I might put a match or two on that I'm in that kind of mood to watch. But it has ruined his legacy as well, and it's so it should. That's something that shouldn't have happened. It's so it should. It doesn't matter if I think Paul Heyman says it best. The guy was a great performer, but he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Shouldn't get recognised and stuff like that, because what he done in real life was just unspeakable. And
I think the WWE would come under proper heavy scrutiny if they even thought about it. Eh?
Yeah, man, I don't think like I said, I don't. This podcast isn't set up to censor anybody about what they want to say. You say what you want, talk about who you want. Everybody, I always say we don't agree with what Chris Benoit done. I don't watch him that much anymore because you need to appreciate he's a big part of wrestling history as well. So
yeah,
it's
I mean, I even used a couple of his moves in the ring.
Man, wouldn't be me. Good on you, but it depends what ones you use. If it's the off the top rope what was it called? I've totally forgot what it's called. Oh.
I use his snap suplex.
I think tons of people use it. I used to use the German suplexes, the similar style to what he done. But I'm not here to censor people. I don't think it's obviously none of us agree with what he done, but he was a good wrestler for the time, and that match was insane, man. I remember getting the DVD box. Now it came in 3 discs, and that was on like the 3rd disc, and it was the only match that was on it. So it took me ages to get to that one, and then when I seen it, I just remember my mind was blown because it was just insanely good. Plus the Shawn Michaels bleeding like a fucking pig as he always does.
I'm not normally a fan of triple threat matches, like psychology wise, and I've not seen, to my recollection, I don't think I've ever seen a triple threat match that stood the test of time as much as that one.
Definitely, man. I think it takes a special group of guys to be in there to put on like a great match, and that night just jammed. There's been a few other ones throughout history, but really, there's not really been that many that's worked.
Exactly. I mean, I would have liked to have seen what Chris and Hunter could have done together without adding Shawn, but I don't know that it worked.
Definitely, man. Shawn Michaels just adds anything to any show, doesn't he? As much as
I don't think he got the nickname Mr. WrestleMania for just a fancy tagline, eh?
Definitely, man. So where would you like people to go check you? Is it on? I've got your link tree below, but where would you like people to firstly go see you? Is it Twitter? Is it your YouTube? Which is a cool couple of videos there.
I use Facebook a lot. My Instagram is just, I need to work on that. Cool. That's one of these social medias that I'm not into, to be fair. But yeah, Facebook, facebook.com/Johnny Reaves FPWA.
Cool, man. And all those links are in your link tree. It will be in the description below. Thanks for being on, man. Thanks for taking the time to come out your day and be on the show. Man, cool. If you wait there, I'll end the podcast and then we'll discuss when it's going up and stuff like that after it.